Hello. Oh, we've lost Rachel. There she is. Hello. Hello,
Hello.
everyone. And welcome. Hello to anyone tuning in live as well. Um, my name's Alyssa Taylor. I am an event officer here at the Academy of Interactive Entertainment. And tonight I am lucky enough to be joined by Rachel Mesler, UX designer and researcher at Mighty Kingdom, and also Devony Boskell, also from Mighty Kingdom, a game programmer. And tonight we are going to be talking all things female in games, which we love here at AIE. We are big advocates. We see who's coming through our course, and the females do so well, not only going into the industry, but also here at AIE. And it's really amazing for us to see. So I can't wait to talk to you guys, and hopefully we can pass on some info for anyone wanting to get into this industry. And also maybe anyone thinking about getting into it as well. So thank you so much for being here. A little bit of background. We do have Matthew, who's on the back end of this live stream tonight. He is open to all questions in chat. So we would love to hear anyone listening live. Pop a question in chat, and he will join us for a split second and ask these guys what they're thinking. But before we get started, I did just want to do a little bit of a background about some facts for women playing games, and also developers that are women in games as well. So 48% of Australian players are female these days. So almost 50%. So more women and girls are playing games than ever before, which is amazing. So on top of that, after the age of 55, women play more than men. So the fact that 48% of Australian players are female, and after the age of 55, women play more than men, is a huge number. So obviously getting more females into the industry as well is a huge thing to be going with these statistics as well. As far as the actual industry goes, 1 in 4 developers are female. It did used to be 1 in 5. But the industry is slowly growing, which is awesome. But obviously, with that amount of women playing as well, we would want to see more females in the industry as well. I guess, did you guys have anything to add to those statistics?
No, I just find it amazing that the fact that we outnumber in older
Yeah.
demographics. It's excellent.
Yeah, for sure. I was even talking to our head of school today, and she is a massive COD player. First person shooters are her things. Um, so she, I believe, is just under that age demographic, but she was talking about how she didn't ever want to be stereotyped. For one, playing first person shooters, and for two, because of her age playing a first person shooter. And I think that's kind of the lump sum. Like my mum, for instance, she says she's not a gamer, but every night she's playing Words with Friends. So
Hmm.
um, I think a lot of that age demographic is probably my mum, but it's certainly more important. Like it's important to get across that there are people like our head of school that enjoy first person shooters and things like that as well. So yeah, I think it's just awesome trying to get more females into the industry, because obviously that's what everyone is wanting as well. Anyway, let's get started. So I guess to get started, can you both share your personal journey about how you got into the gaming industry, and I guess how you became interested as well? So, I mean, Rachel, did you want to start?
Sure, I can start. Devony and I actually went to high school together. I was in year
Ah,
12 and she was in year 7 at the time. I wasn't interested in games until about year 10. I mean, I've always as pursuing it as a career. Prior to that, it was just something fun to do. And I was really interested in the magic behind the screen. So in year 10, I decided, well, IT is something I definitely want to learn more about. So I started on just visual basic programming, which was interesting. And then there was Game Maker and the other engines. I figured that was really cool, but I also heard a lot about the toxic culture and the crunch culture involved in games and how competitive it was. So I felt that it wasn't something I wanted to surround myself with. So I put it aside and decided I'll learn about the magic behind the screen, but I won't see it as a serious pursuit just because I felt particularly as a female that that's probably not the culture I want to be surrounded by. That's when I went to university. I did an IT digital media degree at Flinders here in Adelaide. Um, that's where I learned about 3D modeling and 2D art, as well as programming, databases, the whole smorgasbord of all computer science and its glory, as well as a creative side. Going the digital media side was definitely something I really appreciated, because I also got to learn a lot around the game development, and what that's like, and the software development cycle. In my third year, that's when we have to do placement, or like an internship, as part of the study. And that was a great experience to be able to see what's like in industry. That's when I got to do, I think it was 12 weeks of placement, and I did it in product space, so product design. I was a UX designer in that, where we're working on an app, and I did get a job from that. That was in a graduate program, and it was amazing, because what they do is they think, what is your career that you want, and we'll work with projects that align with your career trajectory, or what your interests are. It was amazing. It was a small IT consultancy, and it was great to be able to get so much experience in the 3 years that I was with them. That's when, during that time, I did an organizer role for our local product design group. And from that, we have obviously a bunch of UX, UI, and product designers coming in. The UX UI director of Mighty Kingdom, a local game development studio here in Adelaide, that's when they came to that meetup, and that's when I talked to them. I said, oh, games is cool, but it's never really something I considered seriously for a career. And they said Mighty Kingdom comes up against those toxic culture and the crunch culture. They want to stand out and say, hey, this isn't how we should be doing a game development. And hearing that, I was like, that's amazing. Of course, I want to be surrounded by creatives in an environment that you feel supported. So that's when I seriously considered the career, and I applied for the UX designer position. I was fortunate enough to be able to get it, and now I've been with them for nearly 3 years.
Yeah, wow. All right. And Devony?
Um, so I'm the youngest of four. So my brothers were all into gaming before I was even born. There's a photo somewhere of them giving me my first Pokemon plush toy when I was like 1. They had already decided that I had to be into Pokemon, so it was pretty good. So I sort of grew up watching my brothers play games, playing games with them. So it was always sort of there. Um, and then before I started high school, my brothers showed me Game Maker and sort of like taught me how to use it. And then when I got into high school, there was like an after school game making activity we could do. So I started doing that, and I went to that for like 3-4 years, I think. And then at some point in high school, I sort of decided I don't really want to be a programmer. I want to go and work in like film, television, radio. I did my work experience at a radio station. And then I did like a class in high school where we got to sort of make like analyze how films and stuff were made and like make videos and stuff like that. And I realized about halfway through it that I really didn't like it. I was like, oh, this isn't fun, but I was having fun in IT, so I went back to my like programming ideas. By that point, my brother had actually enrolled in AIE, and he'd come and told me how great the course was. He was like, it's hands-on and it's really good, and I'm really enjoying it. And I was like, that sounds really, really good. I want to do that as well. So then, well, first I got my first job at the local EB Games. So I spent a year and a bit selling games there. And then I came over in 2020 for my the start of my AIE course. I moved like the day before orientation from Alice Springs down to Adelaide. So then I did the course for the diploma, the advanced diploma, and applied for the graduate program at Mighty Kingdom. And so I got into that after the big process. That was really exciting. And so I've been here for about a year and a half, over a year and a half. And that's sort of how I've got into it.
Yeah, awesome. And so are all your brothers in the game industry now as well?
One of them is, the other two
Yep.
are software engineers.
Oh,
And
okay.
my parents are also software engineers, so we're kind of all in
So
the
you've all got that
programming.
programming brain.
Yeah.
More power to you. I don't know how you do it. All right, I guess moving on, then did you guys, I mean, growing up or now, have some role models? I guess someone that you were looking up to, or someone that you were like, oh, that's a cool position. I'd love to do that. Rachel, do you want to go
Yeah,
first again?
yeah, sure. Someone that I looked up to definitely in terms of, I don't know, intelligence. It's Emma Watson. I know that,
Yeah.
that seems not like completely related to games at all. But definitely seeing that she can thrive in an environment that was like pretty um, surrounded by guys, particularly in like professor, um, situations. I was definitely, and then learning about her life, like she was able to um, do so much with her time and learn so much while also acting, and then becoming a UN woman ambassador. It was really inspiring. As for games in the space, I have someone in my area of interest, the UX area. This person is Celia Hoden, who's in like psychology, and she was able to really make sure that UX is a part of the game development process in large studios, such as Fortnite, and that was like seeing her journey has really inspired me to try to make it the same way here in Australia, because I feel like we have um, a great opportunity here to make sure that my discipline is a part of the game development process. And her journey is very, very similar to how it was in America.
Yeah, absolutely. And Devony?
um, I'm not really sure if I I can't really think of role models that I had growing up. I guess my brothers were pretty big role models when I was a
Yeah.
kid. I always looked up to them in all manners of things, particularly height as well.
Yeah.
They're all taller than I am. I'm very short. Yeah, so like when I was younger, it was definitely just looking up to my brothers. And these days, I don't really know. I haven't like had to think about role models in a
No,
while.
that's all right. No, that is fine. I guess, and I've gone a little bit rogue here, but I am intrigued. Favorite game for you guys as well?
Definitely Zelda Breath of the Wild. I know that's like a lot of people's favorite, but honestly, it was innovative and something that everyone could enjoy some different game mechanics for.
Yeah, okay, cool. And Devony?
Ooh, let's see. Favorite one. Oh man, there's so many good ones to pick. Um, if we go by things I've spent the most hours in, it would probably be Fire Emblem Awakening. It was my first Fire Emblem game, and it got me into the series, and I played it over and over and over again, and I still enjoy it today. Sometimes I'll go back and open it, and it's just on my DS, and like, just have a good time. So yeah.
Reminisce. And I guess feeding into that, the representation of women in video games. I guess when you were growing up, and even what you've researched and stuff, has it evolved? And I guess, what do you think? What improvements are still, needing to be changed as far as representation of actually women in video games as well?
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely improved. I mean, there was a pretty low bar set to start with. I think that there was, because it was male game developers, there was obviously a lot of representation on their side in terms of what they'd like to see in the game. And then when it came to women, it was more of the fantasies of women that they wanted to see in the game, which was just unrealistic standards. And nowadays, because our game developers can be quite diverse, it's great to see stories around like LGBTQ plus games that are progressive in their storylines, not as generic, because it's of course directed or created by people who are from that community. And it's the same for, I feel, for women, where we're able to express and be on the in the decision table when it comes to the design of these games. So of course we've definitely improved. There's still a long way to go, but we are on the course of success, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And Devony?
Well, like as a kid, I played a lot of Nintendo games, so I sort of had like Daisy, Peach, Zelda, Toadette, like to look up to as like characters, and Samus from like Metroid as well. Really liked Samus as a kid. So now I can like obviously play all these other games as well that have more to them than just like, oh, this is a platformer, and oh, this is I love Mario Kart. Actually, I'm not going to say this. I played too much Mario Kart as a child, but you know, so it's like I forgot where I was going with this.
You got distracted by Mario Kart.
It is really nice to see like a lot more games where like the female characters have a lot of depth to them as well. Because you know, like older sort of games, I mean, a lot of characters didn't have a lot of depth to them in games, but you know, it's sort of tricky to get like female characters that have good depth to them, that aren't like unrealistic or some sort of fantasy or something, like Rachel said. And like designs have also gotten better, like in terms of what the characters all look like as well. They're allowed to wear like more normal clothes rather than what we fondly call bikini armor and stuff like that.
Yep. Definitely. Do you guys have a project or a game that you've actually worked on that you feel like your perspective as a woman has positively influenced, I guess, the game or the outcome of what the project is going to be?
I think with the team, we have a Barbie game out there from the Mighty Kingdom team. One of the things we pushed for, which doesn't necessarily represent women in a way, but it is still a way to feel more progressive in the way we would like the game to be perceived. We had like a Ken doll come out, and then we said, well, we shouldn't just have Ken clothes. We should have the clothes that are available to Barbie and allow, mix match however the kid wants, because it shouldn't be a gender assigned clothes. And I felt like that helped with our values. And that's not saying like it was just for women. In that case, it was like for all kids, like no matter the gender that they feel, they have to be conformed to. It's gender fluid.
Sure. Yeah, love that. Devony, anything to add to that?
Not really. I haven't like worked on a lot of projects, so I don't think I've really done anything in particular for any particular game where like I think, oh, my perspective as a woman will definitely be able to improve something here. I just kind of have been going along doing whatever needs to be done,
plugging away. But you say that, but you don't know, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
You never know. You never know for sure. The role of women in the games development industry, I guess. Do you see that changing in the coming years? Do you see new roles being created or anything like that? Or do you see your current roles evolving, I guess, as well?
I definitely see that from the UX design's perspective, because it's already happened in the product design space, where we're able to have these unique perspectives that weren't able to get a decision on the table, or they were, said to be a luxury or nice to have later on. Something like our specialties in UX, accessibility. Accessibility is a huge part of game development, and yet sometimes it's left to last. And with the way that we're going in terms of game development, it's become like accessibility experts are being involved from the very start, and that's improving not just for women, that's improving for everyone, particularly because with how many streamers have a platform now, we're able to see and showcase them, either their struggles or things that are working, and be able to connect with people that we didn't particularly see 10 years ago being seen as gamers.
Yeah, for sure. And is that a role that I guess Mighty Kingdom has someone specifically doing, or is that someone that you outsource, or is that just like the knowledge that I guess gaming companies have, and then they
I
just
think,
know that they have to do this, or how does that work, I guess?
yeah, there is definitely roles in larger companies. Mighty Kingdom is still a large studio, but we don't have a specific accessibility expert that would be on my role, because it's coming under my user
Okay.
experience umbrella. So I have like different hats within our specialty. Like UX is still a specialization of something that comes under game design. So it can go even deeper, particularly for larger studios. You know, like EA has over, I don't know how big the UX team is there now, but it's huge. And in their departments, they have like their own accessibility department, PlayStation as well. And it's something that when you become a large studio, you should be considering, but it's also something that any small studio should be considering as well, indie studios, doing the at least bare minimum to reach those accessibility standards and guidelines, which isn't very hard to do. It just requires a bit of research.
Yeah, for sure. A lot coming under your job title there, I guess, then.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
A lot to think about. And Devony?
Um, I'm not sure I've got anything much else to add to that one.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
No.
No, I've got nothing.
No, that's fine. I guess we'll start with you then this time, Devony. What do you think some key skills and qualities that women bring to the gaming industry? I guess that you think you bring or that you've noticed other people bring that have in comparison to males?
um, well, just the fact that sort of like women and men sort of do think a bit differently is a pretty important thing to have, like a good mix of gender in there, because like we might see something that the men might not see, and they might see something that we might not see. So sort of like having more like diverse viewpoints helps to sort of pull out anything that might go unnoticed just by one person, but someone else will go, oh, this bothered me last time we did something, so let's change it. And that sort of.
Sure. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a game programmer by any means, but I feel this in my own current house where my husband just cannot find anything. So, and Rachel?
Yeah. I think because we are coming from a minority perspective, particularly in this industry, we're able to think outside of what some of the majority have always just accepted as casual. For instance, something that we noticed in our local game development community was that we're starting to have these outside meetups, and alcohol is quite involved. And for some people, that they're very much not comfortable in those kind of environments, and women can be included in some of those people who don't feel comfortable in an alcohol environment. So there was a group of us who decided, let's make meetups that are less alcohol focused, like completely remove that and just have more inclusive environments to be able to hang out together. And I don't, it's not to say that like males couldn't think of that. It's just something that sometimes you don't have that perspective until you feel like you've experienced it before. And I think that kind of level of empathy isn't always there. It might be more like a minority needs to come out with that perspective to say, hey, let's let's do this differently, because you probably haven't thought of it differently for years.
Yeah, 100%. And sorry, Rachel, are we talking about like the ice cream socials and things like that?
Yeah. Ice cream
Yeah.
social, the cafe crawl, things like that, where
Yeah.
you don't have to feel like we have to be at a bar, we have to be at a pub, we have to
Yeah.
drink and talk all the time. It's more like let's enjoy each other's company and different perspectives and make it
Yeah.
more of a welcoming environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. And also, who doesn't love ice cream and, coffee?
hmm
So
hmm Exactly.
everyone can get involved, which is awesome. All right. I guess moving on a little bit more serious, but are there any misconceptions about women working in the industry or even playing that I guess you'd like to dispel while we're here?
Sure. I can start if you want, Dev.
Yeah.
Misconceptions. Oh my goodness, there are so many. Um, I think obviously we can take away the ones that all industry feel for women about our like emotions and how that might come through. Um, but we can think on the misconception of potentially parenthood or like motherhood, being a primary carer, how that impacts our workload. I think that there are a lot of capable people out there. What the misconception is kind of taking away opportunities based on what they perceive to be the future of someone based on their gender. Um, for instance, someone might have recently had a child and were up for a promotion, but instead they assume no, they're going to be focusing, of course, to be the primary care of that child without conversation. Um, it starts with communication. So obviously, the misconception that someone will always be like, unfortunately, we're always stereotyped to be family focused and never career focused. It starts with the communication, and it starts also with the system supporting everyone who wants to be a primary carer. And that comes from the company, as well as people within the company who try to make it a norm and support primary carers. I know I'm just concentrating on the misconception of primary carers at the moment, but it's something that we recently did at Women in Tech SA, where we had a talk around that, like a panel of primary carers and birthing parents who said these are issues that we're dealing with, and it's because of some misconceptions that come into the industry.
Yeah, for sure. And Devony?
Um, um, Misconceptions. This just brought to mind like something someone said to me after like a presentation I did at one point. I remember they were like, "Oh, you don't seem like a programmer." I guess I do sort of like I wear bright clothes and like pink and all of that, so I probably don't seem like I'm gonna be a programmer because like I'm all girly and colors and all of that. So like misconception there that if the woman's a programmer, she's not gonna like dress nice or wear pretty clothes or something. She's gonna just like wear jeans and t-shirts all the time, which I do wear as well. But sometimes I like to just put on like a fun outfit and so like that could sort of apply anywhere, like for a lot of tech and STEM roles for women. Like if they're in that field, obviously they're not gonna wear all the like bright colors and pretty clothes and stuff. That could definitely go.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's important to like bring these things up, I guess not for wanting to put anyone off, but also be aware of these things when you're going in and to know that people are always working on it and companies are working on it as well, which kind of leads to my next question. And there's three different areas that I think could play a more encouraging role into women wanting to pursue a career in games, and that is the companies that you work for. So, for instance, Mighty Kingdom, the gaming community on a whole, and then educational institutions like AIE as well. So, I think those three areas could probably, I guess, use some advice. So, do you have any advice for one or all three of those areas that you would give to how to get women into this kind of field, or just some advice on wanting to pursue it, I guess?
Mm,
Rachel, did you want to start?
yeah, sure. Well, I already talked about like company policy just before,
Yep.
and that is always something that if you can support, definitely do it, particularly for the minorities. Um, when it comes to what could we do to encourage more like females to come into to come into games, we I think it starts at the dinner table, not always just at school, education, and company, but it actually comes from the people you're surrounded with by most, and that's the support. And I know from my personal journey that I said I denied myself that considering games as a career opportunity, it was something that I was saying, no, I'm just going to not think about that. That was in year 10. But the original thought of I could consider it as a career opportunity came from the fact that my parents were so supportive in, you know, getting me a Game Boy Advance, getting me a PlayStation, starting with if I'm interested in it, why not continue to explore it instead of thinking, no, that's for boys or something like that. It always comes from the scenario I think you're growing into of that encouragement. And that starts from the very beginning. And then later on in university, tertiary institutions, it's getting that support that you need, support network through every single part, company, institution, um, education. It's so important to feel like you're not being surrounded by people who are going to keep saying, oh, but you're a girl, you can't do that, or oh, you're good for a girl. That support network there is not just like other females, it's also your allies, and identifying your allies and making, if you are someone who identifies as an ally, making sure your friends are aware of it and being like actually doing allyship um, like actions goes a long way for any institution that you're going to be a
Yeah.
part of, because it starts from the community, not
Yeah, for
entirely
sure.
always up for the top. Yeah.
It's funny that you mention it starting, like, I guess, at the dinner table because quite often when I go out to schools and things like that for AIE, I'll have parents come up and like they'll tell me, "Oh, I always get them to stop playing video games," and that's kind of that's the thing that parents do, isn't it? It's like do your homework, don't
Yeah.
play games. So it starts there as it's like almost a bad thing from the get go, which yeah is just not that kind of culture that we want to
Hmm.
create for men or women or anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Devony, anything to add to that?
I think like in the gaming community, like making it a safer, more welcoming place for women. Um, we sort of need to get rid of the idea of like real games. You know how people will be like, "Oh, that's not a real game because it's like a
Hmm.
farming sim or like a word puzzle game or something. Like it's not hard, so it's not a real game or something." I think we should just get rid of that. That would definitely help because I think a lot of women get into like the more calming games and farming sims and stuff. And obviously, some do get into first person shooters and like competitive games and stuff like that. They'll get into the harder stuff as well. And like the big online multiplayer communities are kind of toxic for
Hmm.
everybody, not just for women. But like I find a lot of the stories are particularly like they are especially toxic towards women in a lot of places. It's like
Yeah.
people like make a big deal out of the fact that you're a woman. Like if you go in the voice chat, they'll be like,
Hmm.
"Oh, you're a girl" or something. It's they don't have to make a big deal about it. We're all playing games. It's
Yeah.
just part of life.
We're all here doing the same thing,
Yeah.
is what it is. Um,
Mm.
I guess as women working in games, what advice do you have for other women looking to go into the industry? They might be studying currently and then wanting to go into the industry. I guess advice, any support groups, any organizations, or anything that they should listen to, or anything in the lead up as well. Devony, did you want to start this time?
Yep. Okay. Advice. Don't be discouraged by the ratio between men and women. Because, like, I mean, I have 3 older brothers and no sisters, so I've always been used to being surrounded by men. So, like, I went into my programming class at AIE, and I was one of 2 girls in the whole class. And I didn't notice for about 2 months that I was only one of 2 girls in there, because it felt pretty normal to me. But for someone who doesn't have, like, only brothers and no sisters, it's probably sort of a bit disconcerting to see so many. You might feel like you maybe don't belong there, but you do belong there. If you didn't belong there, you probably wouldn't have been accepted, right? Like, so don't be, like, discouraged by the fact that it's mostly men. Just keep pushing through, because, like, every single woman who goes through is another one, and then that might inspire more to come through later in later years, and then it'll be less of a, like, unbalanced ratio later.
Exactly. And we always look at, I guess, our upcoming enrollments and stuff, and we look and we're like going down the list, and we're like female, male. And we're just like, every time for programming and design, we're just like, when we see like F for a female on our little spreadsheet, we're like, yay, more, yes, get them in, please. Like, art is a little bit more, I guess, even in the numbers wise. But yeah, definitely programming and design, we get excited for. To see that evening out. And sorry, Rachel?
Yes, actually that is a good point about like that ratio of like not just focusing on it, because I feel like a lot of people, even those who aren't in the ratio, like that are in the majority, that look at the minority and think that's a diversity hire. Don't let people like that like make you feel that you have to identify yourself as that. You identify yourself the way you want to be identified, and if you know you had made it like you had to do hard work to get to where you are, and that's only you can define yourself by that, and it's up to you to continue on with that label, that of hard work, that you keep yourself in your own mind. Like, don't think about what other people are saying around you. Definitely, like my advice before, that support network always helps, because it really, when you're feeling down about yourself, maybe that imposter syndrome kicks in. It's always good to be surrounded by people who are your cheerleaders, people who are there like your pit crew to be able to pick you up when you're feeling down. Um, yeah, surrounding yourself with that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, 100%. A job earned or a position, even in an institution earned, like that is all you, no matter what your gender. That is that is all stuff that you have done. Doesn't matter in your gender. So yeah, hopefully we can dispel that kind of stuff getting out, I guess. All right. Any initiatives or projects that either of you are currently involved in to support empowering women in the games industry?
I can start with that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure. So the one in the games industry specifically, if you go onto Women in Games, that's a community there that's full of what I am also a part of, Women in Games ambassadors. And so we're there to help support this community and grow this community and make sure that we are, inspiring the next generation of people who want to who are females who want to join in this community into games. There's also an organization that I help organize called Women in Tech SA. So this is for the South Australian chapter of Women in Tech. That's something I started with prior to games, but we have a very similar alignment in terms of goals and vision when it comes to women in games, women in tech, very similar. Our events are similar as well. It's just that the community is obviously from different industries. Like they could be from finances, but they work in tech, like doing the apps or the banks. And yeah, there's a broad, diverse amount of women in STEM there to lean on. I think like there's mentorships in these programs that I highly recommend being a part of. If you're like Devony and you're a programmer, Girls Who Code, I believe is the name. There are so many different organizations around women to code that helps like basically gain your confidence, because I know I went through one of the girls who like, I think it's girls who like to code, one of their like full 1-day boot camps, and it was really fun. And it made me feel inspired to continue to feel that I can code, and I don't need to, yeah, belittle myself in that regard.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, otherwise I think in terms of communities that you should be a part of is definitely even the normal community, like your local game dev community, and make sure you're, yeah, surrounded by your allies.
For sure. Devony, anything to add to that, or that you have advice for people to join or watch or listen to?
Well, Girls Who Code was one of them. My like second week at AIE, someone who worked there came in and was chatting to me. She was really excited because I was like in the programming class and I was a girl. And it was really cool. And she recommended Code Like a Girl. And they do like courses specifically for girls. You can do them like the in-person ones that go every few months. You can also just like pay for the course and do it independently in your own time, and they'll just give you all the resources you want. That's a pretty good one to go for.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the one that I
awesome.
was trying to remember. Code Like a Girl.
Yep.
That's the one I was
Yep,
a part
nice. Nice. All right. Well, I guess to finish up, I think we've gone a little bit over time, but that's fine. Will we see your names in the credits anytime soon? If you can talk about it. Who would like to start? Devony?
I can go. My name's already in the credits of a couple of things because I worked on Barbie Fashion Closet for my first few months at MK, and we had credits set up there, so I'm under the programmers on that. And I'm pretty sure the credits on Star Trek Lower Decks, the Badgie Directive, yeah, they should be in the game by now because I worked on that a few months ago as well. So I'm under the programmers in there as well.
Awesome. And Rachel?
As the UX team is quite small at Mighty Kingdom, so we've got our hands in a bunch of different things, but we're mostly known for like the newer initiatives. I am helping on Star Trek Lower Decks at the moment, as well as some unannounced games. So soon, particularly I think early next year, there will definitely be something out there that if you connect with me on LinkedIn, you'll see I'll post about it. Like the moment it's out there, I'm going to be posting about it and singing it on like
Perfect.
to everyone.
Yep. Singing it from the rooftop. Yes, love
Yes.
that. All right. Well, on that note, I might pass over to Matt, who's going to go through and do a little bit of a spruik for you guys as well, I believe.
Awesome. Thanks, Alyssa. Thanks, Rachel, and thanks, Devony. So I've got up on here a few resources for anyone watching. As Devony and Rachel were saying, there are some fantastic organisations out there that work with women in games, women in STEM, women in tech. So a good way to connect with a lot of different people these days is through LinkedIn. So the Women in Technology LinkedIn, I'm going to be sharing all these links within the chat as well. So you can either head to LinkedIn and search it yourself, Women in Technology in SA, or you can have a look at the YouTube or Facebook or website chat, and you can get the links from them. I'm going to post them just after we finish. But here we go on the LinkedIn for Women in Technology. So you can have a look at their activity, see what they're up to, events and such, and connect with some of the organisers and connect with Rachel directly as well. So this is her LinkedIn here. So absolutely, Rachel and Devony are fantastic. I've known them for a while now, actually, from AIE. Both of them are super lovely, super helpful. And for anyone out there who has any questions, by all means, like connect with them on LinkedIn. They're more than happy to answer and to promote not just women in games, but games in general, the creative industries, and to create a really fun and inclusive culture for everyone, which is what we're all striving towards. So this here is Rachel's LinkedIn, and then we've also got Devony Boskell's LinkedIn here as well. So once again, if you don't have LinkedIn, really do advise to kind of get on and create yourself an account, because it's just such a powerful networking tool, and it also helps just find like-minded people. We've also got here, I've got the Mighty Kingdom website, so definitely keep an eye out for some awesome projects. As Devony and Rachel were kind of talking about, you can see all their games up here. So Star Trek Lower Decks was one of their most recent ones. That won a fair few awards, actually, which was pretty cool. So definitely check them out. They are Australia's largest mobile game developer, so definitely a big player here in the Australian games industry. To support them, which is fantastic, because it's helping support the industry here in Australia, which is looking to boom, or is booming, I actually should say. And then last one I've got up here is womeningames.org. So once again, a fantastic organization. Now, there are plenty of these out here, but this is just kind of a key one, which has a bunch of resources, not just for young people, but for any women who are looking to be involved in development of video games, esports, playing, whatever kind of your fancy is for games. There's lots of different resources that you can reach out to here, have a bit of read. They publish some fantastic articles, and they keep you up to date with all the news as well. So definitely check out all those websites, because there's a plethora of resources if you're interested in games and have a passion for it. Oh, I will pass back to Alyssa and co.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's pretty much it from me. I just want to say a big thank you to you both. Obviously, you've got probably pretty busy schedules as well, so much appreciated that you could join us on here tonight as well. And thank you so much for being advocates and keep pushing women in games. So thank you so much for coming on, guys.
Thanks for hosting.
No
Thank you.
worries. All right, perfect. Well, we'll see everyone next time. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.